For years, this case seemed impossible to solve. Until now. A new shocking clue could rewrite everything we thought we knew about Madeleine McCann. What does this revelation mean? And are we finally close to the truth? For over 17 years, the Madeleine McCann case remained one of the world's greatest unsolved mysteries. How can a child vanish without a trace, even with the largest search operation in European history? 2007, at Praia da Luz in Portugal, millions of euros have been invested in the investigation. Suspects have been arrested, clues have been analyzed, but there has never been a definitive answer. Now something different has happened. A new clue has just emerged. And this might be the most important one yet. The question remains, could this time be real? The McCann case has gone through countless twists and turns. In each of them, hope was rekindled, only to be shattered shortly thereafter. False clues, inconsistent witnesses, accusations that never led anywhere. But this new evidence seems different. The media is calling it the biggest clue in recent years. Experienced investigators are cautiously optimistic. If this information is true, it could completely rewrite everything we thought we knew about this case. But what makes this revelation so impactful? Why do experts believe that now might be different? Today, we're going to examine every detail of this clue, understand how it might change the investigation, and answer the question that has been on the minds of thousands of people. Are we finally close to the truth? But before drawing any conclusions, you need to see the details behind this new discovery. If there is one thing we have learned from this case over the years, it is that not every clue leads to an answer. Some only add to the mystery. In 2013, a gray-haired man was pointed out as the possible kidnapper. His image was published in newspapers all over Europe, but a few months later, it was discovered that he was just a British tourist coming back from a bar. In 2017, another big moment. A truck driver claimed to have seen Madeleine alive in Spain. The police rushed to investigate. Days later, they discovered that it was a complete misunderstanding. So what makes this new clue different? Investigators are acting in a completely different way this time. Reports suggest that new forensic tests have been requested. Witnesses who had previously been ignored have been called back to testify. If this evidence is real, it may indicate a grave error in the initial investigation, a detail that was overlooked and could be the key piece to understanding what happened that night. But the lingering question is, what has been discovered now? And why is this clue leaving even the investigators perplexed? From the beginning, the McCann case has been an example of how an investigation can spiral out of control. The crime scene was compromised. The versions of the story changed. The British and Portuguese police clashed, each blaming the other for the mistakes. And in the midst of all this, a little girl went missing. In the early days after Madeleine's disappearance, everything that could go wrong did. Police took hours to secure the scene. Any forensic trace was potentially lost. People came and went from the apartment without any control. Witnesses were ignored. Some claimed to have seen a man carrying a child on the night of the disappearance, but their testimonies were only taken seriously years later. And perhaps that is the most disturbing point. How many pieces of evidence went unnoticed? What we know is that each new clue brought a new suspect, but never a definitive answer. If this new discovery is legitimate, it means that the police may have made a crucial mistake that prevented the truth from emerging sooner. And that brings us to the big question. Is this the clue that will finally reveal what happened to Madeleine McCann? Or is it just another piece in the incomplete puzzle of this case? The answer to that could change everything. Imagine the following scene. A woman is cleaning her attic when she finds an old suitcase forgotten for years. Curious, she opens it, and inside she finds old photos, documents, and an aged diary. Each page brings a fragment of a mystery, small details that, on their own, don't make sense. But when analyzed together, they form a chilling truth. This new clue might be exactly that, a forgotten piece amid thousands of files, but one that could finally connect the dots once and for all. The question is, who left this clue behind, and why? This new evidence might be the key to understanding what really happened to Madeleine McCann. But can it withstand a detailed investigation? In the next few minutes, we're going to analyze the facts and find out if this clue is genuine or just another error in the long list of this case. And if you want to follow in-depth, uncensored investigations, subscribe to the channel. Here, every detail matters, and you won't want to miss what comes next. Imagine the scene. An investigator sitting before a pile of old documents flips through pages that should have been examined years ago. Suddenly, he notices something strange, a detail that had been overlooked for almost 2 decades. This is the reality behind the unexpected source, an archived report that had never been fully examined. In it, a crucial clue that might indicate where Madeleine McCann was after her disappearance. But what exactly was discovered? It is an object found in a location previously ignored by investigators. Something that, according to experts, could directly link a suspect to the disappearance of the girl. The difference now is that technology has advanced. New forensic tests are being applied to this object, and the initial results are surprising. If confirmed, they could prove that Madeleine was at that location. This completely changes the dynamics of the case. For years, the investigation followed leads that went nowhere. But what if the answer was always there, hidden among old documents? The impact of this discovery was immediate. Experts state that this could be the first concrete clue in years, something that truly has the potential to lead to a definitive answer. Yet at the same time, a new problem arises. If this clue was always available, why was it ignored? Now we need to understand exactly what was found and why it might be the missing piece of the puzzle. And most importantly, who could be involved in this unexpected revelation? The new evidence is not just a technical detail. It could completely change the trajectory of the investigation. The experts who analyzed the clue claim that there are strong indications that Madeleine was at that location and that someone might have hidden this information for years. This raises an even more disturbing question. If this evidence was ignored, who would have an interest in covering it up? Sources close to the investigation state that new interrogations are being conducted. People who had already been questioned in the past have been called back. Some of them have given contradictory statements, which only increase the mystery. And there is another important detail. The way this clue was discovered, it wasn't found by the police, but by a team of independent investigators. This raises another doubt. What else might have been overlooked over the years? The media went into a frenzy. British newspapers published headlines saying that the truth about Madeleine might be on the verge of being revealed. But at the same time, there was a note of caution. After all, this wouldn't be the first time that a clue generated expectation and then led nowhere. But this time, there is a new factor: advanced technology. With new forensic methods, something that before might have been discarded can now bring a concrete answer. The big question now is, what will the results of these tests reveal? And if this clue is real, who will be the next to be investigated? The answer could change everything. The news spread like wildfire. As soon as the new clue was revealed, British newspapers, international portals, and social media exploded with theories and speculations. Sensational headlines took over the internet. New evidence may reveal Madeleine McCann's whereabouts. Is the missing piece in the McCann case finally found? Is the end of the mystery near? Reactions were intense. On one side, there were those who believed that this could be the turning point everyone was waiting for. On the other, there was growing skepticism. After all, how many times in the past has a promising clue ended up leading nowhere? On Twitter, the debates began. If this clue is real, it means someone hid this information for years. I only believe when we have concrete proof. We've seen this before. What is the police hiding? Why are they only investigating this now? The tabloid media wasted no time. Within hours, TV analysts were debating every detail of the evidence, bringing in experts to offer quick and often conflicting opinions. Then came a critical moment: the stance of the authorities. The British police remained cautious, stating that the new evidence was being analyzed, but that any definitive statement would be premature. Meanwhile, the German investigators, who in recent years pointed to Christian Bruckner as the main suspect, showed more confidence, suggesting that this clue could indeed link the suspect to Madeleine's disappearance. At the same time, experts in missing persons cases began to voice their opinions. Does this clue really hold weight, or are we just reliving an endless cycle of false hopes? To understand the impact of this new clue, we need to look to the past. This isn't the first time the world believed it was close to the truth. 2013, a witness claimed to have seen Madeleine in Morocco. The police investigated. False alarm. 2017, a Spanish truck driver said he had transported a frightened blonde child. The story went viral. No evidence. 2020, Christian Bruckner was pointed out as the main suspect. 3 years passed and nothing was proven. So, why do media narrative influences our perception? Missing person cases evoke deep emotions. They make us want to believe that the solution is near, because the alternative, accepting that there may never be an answer, is unbearable. This leads to a vicious cycle. With each new clue, hope is rekindled, and the media feeds on it with catchy headlines. But when the evidence doesn't hold up, the case falls into obscurity until the next big discovery. Criminology experts understand very well how this works. In recent interviews, some of them warned about the risks of treating this clue as the definitive answer. An experienced investigator told the BBC, "We've seen this before. A clue might seem promising at first, but the question is, can it be proven?" At the same time, there are those who argue that every clue must be taken seriously, regardless of the history of disappointments. And that is the big question now. Is this new evidence the beginning of the truth or just another illusion? The answer may lie in the next steps of the investigation. What will be done with this clue? Can it be proven? If it is real, someone will have to be held accountable. And if not, what else is still being hidden? The tension was palpable. With the new clue being treated as one of the most promising discoveries in the McCann case, the next step was clear: concrete proof. The British and German police announced that detailed forensic tests were being conducted. The found object was sent for laboratory analysis, and experts began searching for any trace of DNA, any evidence that could prove a connection with Madeleine. For weeks, the public followed every detail. Headlines were updated daily, and theories circulated on social media. Could this be the clue that finally solves the case? Then the first reports emerged. The initial tests did not find a direct connection with Madeleine, but they also did not entirely rule out the possibility. The genetic material collected was inconclusive, which meant that more tests would be necessary. This reignited an old problem: time. Each day that passes, physical evidence degrades. Clues that could have been decisive in 2007 may now be compromised. How many answers have already been erased by time? But even without a definitive answer, the impact of this discovery was immense. The investigation was reopened with new focuses. Authorities began reviewing other old clues that had been archived. People who had already been interrogated were being called back. Suspects who had seemed forgotten were mentioned again. And in the midst of all this, the McCann family's reaction was cautious. Jerry and Kate McCann, who spent years living between hope and despair, knew they couldn't let themselves be carried away by false expectations. In a brief statement, they said they were closely monitoring the developments, but that they would not make any hasty declarations. It was a painful reminder. How many times have they been through this before? By now, the big question was no longer just about this clue. It was about how many other clues might still be buried, waiting to be discovered. If there is one thing this case has taught us, it is that the truth may be delayed, but it rarely disappears completely. The emergence of this new clue has shown one crucial thing: the investigation into Madeleine McCann is far from over. What once seemed like another archived case, a mystery destined to remain unanswered, has now become a point of international debate and analysis. But this leads us to an even deeper question. How many other important clues have been overlooked? How many pieces of evidence may have been ignored or lost over the years? This wasn't the first time a clue reignited the case, and it probably won't be the last. The history of the investigation shows us how many times the truth was close and how many times it slipped away. One witness saw a man carrying a child on the night of the disappearance. His account was ignored for years. The police dismissed the possibility of a German suspect, only to reconsider him over a decade later. Forensic traces that could have been collected in the apartment were compromised in the early hours of the investigation. So if there's one thing this new clue teaches us, it's that the story isn't over. And this brings us to one last and crucial question. Are we closer to the truth or just going in circles? For many, with each new clue, hope is rekindled, only to be extinguished again. But for others, this new phase of the investigation represents a last chance to correct the mistakes of the past. Now the question remains, will this be the clue that brings answers, or just another chapter in an endless mystery? The journey we take today leads us to a deep reflection. Can this new clue really be the turning point? We have heard reports, theories, and testimonies that, despite their confusion, have never stopped fueling the hope for a resolution. Now, with this evidence that challenges past mistakes, it's impossible not to wonder if we are finally on a path that leads to the truth about Madeleine McCann. I feel that this investigation is more than just an unsolvable case. It represents the power of persistence and the importance of never ceasing to question what is presented to us. This new clue, found amid so many discarded documents and reports, shows that the truth may be hidden in the simplest details and that even time cannot completely erase the traces of what happened. For me, what has always impressed me about this case is the way reality hides behind a series of clues that at first glance seem disconnected, but when connected, form a picture that defies all logic. Each new piece of information rekindles hope, and at the same time, reminds us of the mistakes made by an investigation that, in its early moments, failed to handle what was essential. This evidence, analyzed with current technology, could reveal what was neglected and which, for so long, remained in the shadows. I feel that this revelation not only brings the chance for a new approach to such an emblematic case, but also underscores the importance of questioning everything without fear of facing the consequences of a truth that might be harsh and transformative. What leads me to believe that, although this case is still full of uncertainties, the new direction it has taken seems more solid and promising than so many others that have already been lost along the way. The way investigators are now revisiting the details with a renewed perspective, using methods that have long been unavailable, fills me with an almost tangible expectation. This approach is not just a technical success, it is a demonstration that it is never too late to seek the truth and correct the mistakes of the past. I invite you to reflect with me. Will we ultimately unravel this mystery, or are we facing yet another cycle of false hopes? This question is not just about an old case. It's about our own need for answers and justice for those who suffer from disappearance and mystery. Amid so many uncertainties, what really matters is keeping an open mind and a critical eye, because it is in that space of questioning that the truth can finally emerge. And with that in mind, I prepared the next video precisely to continue this conversation. In it, we will analyze new evidence that is emerging and discuss directly how these new elements might fit into the narrative we have so far. If you, like me, never tire of seeking the truth behind the facts, this next content will take you to a new dimension of this case, bringing that thrill of discovering the unexpected. I invite you to follow this next stage, because it promises to reveal details that could completely change our perspective. And so that you don't miss any detail of these investigations, subscribe to the channel right now. Every new piece of information, every new analysis, is another piece of the puzzle that we have been trying to assemble together over these years of mystery. If you watched until here, comment, "I am determined to discover the truth," so I know you stayed with me until the end. Your comments inspire me to continue bringing content that challenges our certainties and makes us reflect sincerely and deeply about the enigmas surrounding such complex cases. This journey does not end here. It only prepares us for the next chapter, where the truth, however fragmented it may seem, can reveal itself in a surprising and transformative way. Let's join together in this relentless search for answers, because the truth deserves to be known, even if it is harsh, and each new clue brings us a little closer to what really happened.